Welcome to the Eating at a Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath, dietary needs expert, certified meetings manager, certified food protection manager. I have searched the globe to find people and businesses who are creating safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage experiences for their employees, guests, and communities. In each episode, you will find authentic conversations about how food and beverage impacts inclusion, sustainability, culture, community, health, and wellness. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're going to cover it all. Are you ready to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line? If so, let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. This is your host, Tracy Stuckrath with Thrive Meetings and Events. And on the Eating at a Meeting podcast, we talk to experts in all facets of food and beverage to talk about how to create safe, inclusive, and sustainable food and beverage experiences. And I'm doing a whole slew of episodes for food allergy awareness and Celiac disease awareness month, which is May every single year. And so this episode today is really highlighting what we can do with our meeting menus and become more aware about food allergies during, when we're planning our events. And the expert that I have on the show today is Executive Chef Dominic Teague. He's a chef with nearly 30 years experience in 5-star hotels and Michelin star restaurants, who is currently the executive chef at London's independent luxury hotel, One Aldwych. So welcome to the show, Dominic.
Thank you, Tracy. You make me sound old there when you say that.
Well, I've got 30 years of event planning experience, so I'm right there with you.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So we met officially via the internet a couple of years ago through my friend our friend Carolyn Benjamin, who does what I do in educating individuals on dietary restrictions and how to feed us all and make our kitchen safe. And she's like, you have to meet Dominic, because he's created this restaurant that is completely gluten-free and dairy-free. I sent you the picture of the slide that I use all the time that I brag about you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So can you tell us why you decided to turn the menu in gluten-free and dairy-free?
It was a bit of a process, to be honest. It wasn't like literally an overnight decision.
Okay.
But it came in the back of, we were closing, we have 2 restaurants and kitchens in the hotel, and we were closing one for a long overdue refurb a few years back. So that gave us a bit of an opportunity to just take a step back and think, right, when we reopen in 3 months, what do we need to change? What do we need to look at? And around the time before we closed, I was on the pass on a Saturday night on the fine dining restaurant, and normally, we have stress and we have fun and games, but normally it's pretty calm and it's pretty good. It's quite relaxed. It's okay. It's high pressure, it's high intensity, but it's okay. But this one particular night, it was just an absolute nightmare, and I was tearing my hair out. And I'm getting the train home, thinking, why is it so tough? What? We did 100 covers. I've got a nice team, great kitchen. Why is it so difficult? And I sort of came to the conclusion that and I realised that more and more people were coming in to eat in restaurants across all spectres of the industry that have allergens, especially gluten, dairy, and a couple of others. So I think I even at one point in the middle of the service shouted to the restaurant manager, we might as well turn the whole menu gluten, dairy free, it'd be far easier, because you just kept coming to me with every table saying, some chef table 16 and they've got this allergy and can you change that? And with my background of always being in sort of top end 5-star luxury hotels, and you're sort of programmed from a very early age that you just do what the guest what the guest wants, what the customer's after. You don't really say no, but it's not really an option unless you haven't got the physical product in the kitchen. You just do it. So when you sort of throw all those together, when I sort of got the train home, I was thinking, well, actually, would that be such a bad idea? And then it just sort of snowballed from that. And we had a meeting a week later. And they're saying, right, chef, when we reopen the Indigo restaurant, what's your thoughts? What's your plans? You change anything? And I just I hadn't really researched it greatly. I'd done some research, but I hadn't gone in with this, 24-page PowerPoint presentation. I just sort of winged it really and said, well, I think there's an opportunity to really have a real top-class, high-level restaurant that happens to be gluten and dairy free, because there's nowhere for people with these allergies to go and have a nice time and have a great meal. And it just sort of snowballed from that, and everyone got very excited. And then the more we researched it, the more we realised actually that's a great idea. And then the more we sort of played around with the food, we were like, well, actually, we can produce great food without some of these things in it, and just substituting things here and there, and it just snowballed from that, really. And it's just been a massive success. And that was a few years ago, but it's still growing. It's still, the reputation is still growing. I think more and more people are leaning towards a healthier diet, not necessarily for allergy reasons, more for a lifestyle choice.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that to sort of add into the mix as well. And I just think we're just positioned in a great place now to keep moving it forward.
Well, and I do too. And I think it's awesome. And the fact that you were thinking that, hey, there's not a place that people can go high end that they can get this without a long conversation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we just take all that away, all that nonsense of that there's silences, and then run into the kitchen to check, and then you've got to double and not being relaxed, and we just wanted to get rid of all that for everybody. But it was what we really, really focused on was the fact that it doesn't make any difference. We're just a great restaurant anyway, and it's just a massive bonus that we happen to be gluten dairy free. So if there's a table of 4 coming in, and it's one person's birthday, and they happen to be a celiac, then everyone has a great meal. There's not like they're taking a step down to appease the celiac who's going to get come to this restaurant because it's no gluten. It doesn't make any difference. And that's what we really focus on and work hard on. That there is people come in and they have no idea, and we don't always tell them. We don't need to, because it's
yeah, exactly. And so I'm curious, did that help? How has it helped in other allergens? Because a lot of gluten-free dishes, when you're looking for recipes online, use nut flours. So are you staying away from nut flours, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a conscious decision to stay away from nut flours. We use perhaps other ones, but we don't claim to be a nut-free environment or a nut-free kitchen. But of course, if somebody comes in with a nut allergy, then we're perfectly positioned to deal with that, because I think people are aware, our servers and the front of us managers and my team, because they're aware through the training and the protocols that we take gluten and dairy allergies obviously very seriously. That it sort of flows down through the rest of the allergen. It's not such a big drama if we say, look, this is an allergy. We have processed that they marry to whatever allergy is being asked for us, if you like. So it's not a conscious decision to remove nut items, but we don't have hundreds on the menu. So there's bits and pieces, but it's easily traced. It's easily removed if necessary, or taken away. So it all helps.
Yeah. Well, and I want to point out one of the statistics that I saw based on you doing this is I think it was in the first quarter, you increased your sales by 39%. Is that right?
Yeah, we went crazy. It was mad. We actually, when we opened the restaurant, we kept it quiet for a couple of months about the dairy-free thing. We just opened it to see what, a couple of months, we came on board and said, you need to sing about this, you need to sell this. This is incredible. From that moment, it just went crazy. And then, within the news and the local, the Evening Standard, which is the big London newspaper every evening, and the local news came in, and radio shows, and it came from that. So the growth was nearly, I think, over 30% for the first quarter when we were opened, which nobody was expecting that sort of take up. But it just shows the demand is there, right? If you can offer a great product.
So one of the other interesting things that came from this, and from what you said this morning too, is that empowering your staff. And when I ask you a best practice, you that's the first thing that you said, before I asked you about a best practice coming in, but it was that empowering your staff. And that's an interesting conversation to say with a restaurant, because it's such high turnover with restaurant staff, front of house staff, or probably even kitchen staff too. And now actually with COVID and Brexit, how has that, transformed the restaurant too?
Well, I think it's been absolutely key. I mean, we realised from day one that it's all very well me having this idea to do this and creating the dishes and the menu, but if nobody buys in from it, buys into the actual the concept and the product, then it's just not going to work. And the danger that I had, or that was, that if you have a restaurant and maybe the servers don't buy into this for the concept or the product, or the management don't, for example, you might not have a busy restaurant. That's the worst thing that would happen. Do you know what I mean? It's that the customers might not come back. They might have a great experience, so that they vote on their feet. But if you get that wrong with allergens, you've got a serious problem, or potentially a serious problem, with obviously what could happen to people that have something they shouldn't have. So it was absolutely vital from day one that we had everybody on board, and we do. We had, even from general down to the the kitchen porters or everybody understands what we do, and is trained sufficiently. Obviously, that's part of it, but understand the reasons behind it and what we do, and that's absolutely key. I wouldn't have been able to do it so many if they don't really understand what's in it or what it's involved or the processes or how we come to that. But the turnover is good. Places under anesthesia. It's just vital that all the team buy into it, and we make a real effort. With obviously the training and the reasons behind it, but right from every level of the hotel, and even people that aren't involved in food and beverage in the hotel are aware of it. They understand it, and it's made easier the fact that I've had a lot of my staff have been with me front of house and back of house for quite a few years now. We look after our team pretty well, so that makes it a lot easier that I haven't got a huge turnover of staff coming through, which would get a lot harder. So it's vitally important that they have the tools to deliver and speak about it. They need to be knowledgeable. We can't proclaim to be this fantastic gluten-free restaurant, and then they ask the server something, they have to run to the kitchen check. That can't happen. They have to know the answer, and we put a lot of effort into that.
That's awesome. Also, your suppliers. I thought it was interesting that you had told me before the show that your suppliers come in and talk to the servers as well. So that's part of your training. Yeah,
it's absolutely key as well. I mean, we're very lucky that we're lucky in the UK. We have great produce, great supplies, but also we're lucky that we can in the hotel be able to use them, and I don't have any restrictions on who I use, and I will have suppliers that have the interest in wanting to do that, because it's about empowering the team and giving them the knowledge. And I can sit there all day and talk about where the meat comes from, or the farm that we get the beetroots from. But if that actual person's in front of the team telling them, they just switch on so much more to it, so much more engaged with them. It's great for I think it's a two-way thing, right? I think the supplier would love it. They love the fact they come in and see our beautiful restaurant. They see an engaging team that want to ask them questions about their product, or where the fish comes from, or what the boat's called that the fish goes out, that is caught off, or all these sort of things. And it all adds to the guest experience as well, of course. So it's a win-win, but it's a big part of what we do, and I think the team love it.
Oh, I love that idea, because it does make them more empowered. It feels they actually get to love their job more, and then share what they're doing and what they're part of. Now, because a lot of my listeners are in the events industry. You're the executive chef for the entire hotel. So, and I know that the restaurant is gluten-free, dairy-free. Does that pour over or into the meeting menus as well?
It does. We don't advertise per se that we are exclusively gluten dairy free for events, but just the nature of how we operate, it's a natural fit, because we're not a huge monster of an operation where I've got different kitchens everywhere and different brigades. We have one central kitchen that we all work out of, so it just makes it a lot easier if I just incorporate the dishes that we're doing and the garnishes or the sauces into the banqueting and the meeting private events menus, because it would be foolish not to, right? So it's not exclusively, but pretty much most of it is, just by nature of the fact that it comes from the kitchen that we're serving the restaurant in. So a lot of it is crossed over, and that again makes it a lot easier, because obviously, as you know, you're hosting event 20, 30 people, there's always going to be a quite high uptake there of people with allergens and dietary requirements, and often they move around the table after different courses and the networking stuff, and that creates a problem for the servers. So you just we just take the challenge out out of the way and just it's make it easier for everybody.
Well, exactly, because then and the fact so your servers and your front of house they're the same people, right? That work in the restaurant as work in the rest of the hotel, or different as well.
They share them amongst we work as one team. So we were expanding the team, but they'd also would work in the restaurant, so they would understand the food offering as well. And obviously we have different things in events to the restaurant, but a lot of it's similar, and it'd be the same product, a lot of the same style, if you like. So it's not a completely new thing that they haven't got a clue what they're serving. It's similar to what we do in a restaurant. Maybe it just slightly changed or tweaked, or depending on the actual the requirements of the guest. But it just, if you take that out the equation in terms of the allergens all over the hotel, it just makes it so much easier for everybody. And that's what we find. So we just, every time we do new menus, or if I had a client would come to me and say, they want a bespoke canopy menu, then I would probably make it gluten dairy free, just because we have everything in the kitchen that is gluten dairy free. So why would I buy in something for a couple of little canopies that we don't necessarily need? We can utilize what we have around anyway.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Complete sense. So we've been going through COVID, and you guys are still shut down. You're opening up in a few weeks, at least partially, and then the next month. What plans do you have for the hotel and the restaurant going forward?
So I think one of well, if there's any benefits of COVID, I mean, one of the things is the fact that us chefs have had a chance to actually sit down around a few things and just be calm for a bit without running around and being crazy. So it's actually been quite nice in terms to actually just sit back and have a proper think about things and menus and stuff moving forward. So when we reopen, we have a very, very popular afternoon tea that we introduced a few years back that's based on Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And it's just been a huge success. So that was always done from the Indigo restaurant. We've moved that downstairs to the other hotel restaurant now, which actually makes it a lot easier because it's a separate entrance and it's larger. So for spacing out and restrictions, it makes a lot more sense to have it down there. So that's then freed up some space upstairs because that, especially at weekends, was extremely busy. We're going to launch a new afternoon tea in Indigo restaurant, which is completely gluten dairy free. And it's going to be a little bit more of perhaps more of a contemporary twist on the traditional British afternoon tea. It's, we're nice. We're a contemporary hotel. We're not, we are independent, so we don't have to follow a big hotel chains procedures or sort of structure. We can do what we want. So we've come up with a lovely contemporary British produce led afternoon tea we're really excited about. It's a little bit different to what else is on the market, but it's going to be really, really fun and people are going to love it. But it's beautifully done. So we've got that launching.
So you said produce focused, or what would you say if the new tea was focused on? Produce
yeah. So it's ingredients and produce is our ethos. We do. So I've carried that across into the art. It's not just a smoked salmon sandwich. It's a John Ross, which is one of the suppliers we use, a beautiful little family-run smoked salmon farm. So we've made a little mousse out of that and set it with a cucumber jelly on top on a little bit of toasted gluten-free bread. So it's not a cucumber sandwich. It's an elevation of that, if you like. We're doing a braised beef with caramelized onion and truffle pie that we're doing, tiny little individual one with the beef comes from a beautiful farm that I know, marinated for 24 hours, cook it for 12 hours, and make a sauce with that. That's going to go in a little pie with a little bit of cream potato on top. All these little things we've done that are just elevating a traditional afternoon tea a little bit, but still using the farms that we use and stuff. So it's just a bit of a crossover. So we're really excited about that. And obviously the restaurant, when we closed, the last lockdown we closed was just before Christmas. So now we're going to be reopening start of summer in 9th of June. So a whole new menu because obviously we're coming into summer. So I've got a whole new stuff to play with. We missed last year because we were closed. So I've been a couple of years without fantastic British strawberries and raspberries, and I missed asparagus season last year because we were in lockdown. So I'm excited about cooking this again because it's been 2 years since I've played asparagus probably, and so there's all these things we've been working on as well when we open. So there's been a bit going on.
Sounds like it. It sounds delicious. And so I'm curious too about all of the vendors that you use, the local sourcing. It's wonderful because you know where all your food is coming from. And have you seen that as a benefit to running the restaurant and the menus, to using those local? Do people come to you because you're using local?
Yeah, I think so. I think people are become more aware of that and not demanding, but I think they're much more aware of provenance and produce and where it comes from there, and they want to know. So, it frustrates me sometimes because there's people that they put things on menus and they put the farm's name and stuff, and that they're just really, is it good, or do you actually know that comes from that farm? But so I will only do that if I know for sure, if I've been to that farm, if I know the farmer, the supplier, the fisherman, whatever, because you have to be honest and accurate with that. I think there's a few people that get away with a bit of artistic license, perhaps, when they're writing menus, but we are 100%. We know where everything comes from. I know through my experience. I've been for a long time in London and suppliers out in the country, so I've been to see a lot of them. We take the teams to the farms; they love it. We have a beautiful organic lamb farm up in North Wales, and it's beautiful up there. And we took 15 of our guys and girls up there a couple of years ago. Had a big tour around, big barbecue. Had a look at everything. When they come back and sell it on the menu, they're so much more engaged because they can tell the customer, oh yeah, I've been to that, I've seen that farm, and it's by the sea in North Wales, and the sea breeze comes across through the valley, and that's why you get the salt taste in the lamb.
Oh my God, that's awesome!
It just makes it so much easier, and it makes it easier for me because I don't. Yeah, it's great, right?
Yeah.
So it's a big part of it. Big part of it.
And on that note, another stat that I want to share with everybody is that your employee engagement increased by 89% by this empowerment method of educating them about the food that you're serving, your guests. Does that still stand?
Yeah, I think we achieved 89, 90%. I'm not sure if that means I would have only had 11% before, which seems a bit low.
Never mind. Yeah, I said that the wrong way. Okay.
We get great. But no, it's true. We get great results for our staff engagement stuff. And to be honest, the fact that they've all, most of them for so long is proof in the pudding. I mean, those surveys are great. You get an accurate idea of how the staff are feeling and all that. But ultimately, you can look in their eyes. If they want to be there with you and if they want to stay and if they're happy. And that's all part of it. And I think it's actually quite interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day. They were saying that they asked me if we attract staff because of the gluten and dairy-free message that we do, and we actually do, especially on the pastry side of things, because it's quite unique, especially at our level. So I have people that want to come and work especially in the pastry side of it, because they're like, Dominic, I'd love to learn how you do these recipes and this mousse and these desserts, because I haven't got a clue, and it's another thing for me to learn. So that's a benefit as well. They are learning another element of cooking, another style of cooking. So we throw that in as well about the farm visits and the educational trips that we do, and the talks and the suppliers, and that's all part of it. So yeah, we have great scores on our employee engagement surveys.
Oh, that's really, really cool too. I'm trying to educate the servers and the ones that are wanting to come learn from you. That's really valuable, because I think in culinary school, they don't, I think it's becoming more prevalent to learn that method of cooking, but a lot of schools and classes are still teaching traditional cooking styles, French styles with all the normal ingredients in them.
Yeah.
So you're kind of you're spreading the wealth around.
No. Well, yeah, I like to think so. I tried to do a bit, but you're right. It is a challenge that people come out of culinary school and it's a big bad world out there, and it's a different beast. And I'm not saying they're underprepared, because you have to learn the basics and the culinary side of the ethos, the basis is in French style cuisine, undoubtedly, but we've moved a hell of a lot on from them from when I first came in out of college 32 years ago, whenever. So I think there's a big opportunity there for educating at a lower level, a lower age, especially with the allergen stuff, because what happens is these people come into the industry and then they rise up to the ranks, sometimes too quickly, I have to say, but then they're in charge and they're the ones that potentially you've got a celiac sat there that, your life is in their hands, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to know what you're talking about, so you can educate about the whole allergen thing, the better, I believe.
No, can we just replicate you and take you everywhere? I want to take you around the world.
Oh, there's only one pair of hands.
I know, exactly. Okay, so just for fun, two different questions. Actually, how am I going to say that? What do I want to ask you? Can you give a quick tip on, switching out a sauce or whatever, or, things best practices for another chef to easily do this switch to gluten-free, dairy-free?
Do you know that I get asked this quite a lot, actually, and a lot of this can be adapted. The gluten-free flour is a great substitute for normal flour, but then you have an issue with, depending if you're making bread and things, with the binding. So there's things you can add to that to help that binding process, which is not a massive secret. People know about it, but I always think people try and get a little bit overcomplicated. And one of the things I always say that I've said a while ago, and somebody really latched onto it: if you just cook meat, fish, actually gluten, dairy free, and depending on allergy, nut free or whatever. So I think people sometimes overcomplicate what they put in food. So if you just strip it back to its bare, beauty, if you like, of just a beautiful piece of grilled meat or a lovely bit of fish with some lovely veg, whatever you're going with it, you don't know actual recipes and items to substitute. We use a lot of coconut milk is quite nice to use for desserts. You have different varieties of it. You have to be a bit careful, but we have one that's quite thick, and if you hang it, you get a real thick cream that's left, and that's a nice substitute for making for lots of desserts. You can actually make creme anglaise with that. You can leave it hanging, a little bit of icing sugar, and then that can be used as you would use creme fraiche. So that's quite a nice thing to use. If you hang coconut milk, you get a nice thick cream that's left, and then that can then be used. And the flavour, if you add it, you have to be careful because you don't want everything taken to coconut. Right. But if you're adding it to things that are quite strong and quite potent, like the good strong flavours, it masks very nicely. So that's a nice thing to work with.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I love asking everybody at the end, what is their favorite food and drink to have on their own?
We haven't been going out much recently. It's been into a cup of tea, but I'm British, right? So that's a no-brainer. But and food-wise, I actually I like Asian food. So not too spicy, but I love like curries and sort of Thai food and stuff like that. So I just like a nice chicken tikka masala or chicken alfredo or a gang Penang curry or something from Thailand. That's what I truly enjoy to eat. If I'm not trying to impress anybody, I'm just cooking it, I'm just eating at home, then that's my go-to. It's actually Fridays normally our home delivery day, so my son's very excited because he thinks he's going to get a curry tonight when he gets home from school. So we'll have to make that happen.
Nice, awesome.
Well, thank you so much. And food allergies, and thank you for what you do from that havoc that you had on the train that night to saying, well, how can we do this easier? Because I'm sure the back of the house is crazy with all these dietary restrictions. So thank you for making that change and for empowering your employees to embrace their customers who do have different dietary needs. So it's a very much welcomed experience. I can't wait to come eat in your restaurant.
Well, yeah, we look forward to having you, Tracy.
I'm going to get on the plane as fast as I can and get there. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today to Eating at a Meeting podcast. We're here to educate people on how to create safe, inclusive, and sustainable food and beverage experiences, and celebrating Food Allergy Awareness Month and Celiac Disease Awareness Month. My expert today was Chef Dominic Teague from One Aldwych Hotel in London. So when we all get to travel again, please go visit his restaurant and his hotel, and share it with us, and maybe we can go together. Until next time, stay safe and eat well. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.